And welcome back to the second hour of Hannity. We're live at the Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where day one of the Democratic National Convention has just ended. And earlier, I spoke with 2016 GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump about today's events and much more. Here's part two of that interview. Hillary actually said in the interview last night that she would take advice on the economy from Barack Obama. You laid out a pretty strong case, prosecuted a case in your speech last week. The economy is not doing well. Millions more in poverty, millions more on food stamps, millions more out of the labor force, and by the way, disproportionately minority Americans.
Well, other than having a phony stock market and, you know, it's being fed all this cheap money because that's what it is. I mean, the interest rates are so ridiculously low, which means people that used to want to live on their interest rate, they can't anymore. But the interest rates are so low. And it's a false stock market. It's a bubble, but it's a really false stock market. And other than that, it's a disaster. You look at our trade deficits. In May, we had one of the worst Mays we've ever had. And you look at the kind of a yearly trade deficit we have with everybody. Look at the trade deficit we have with China and Mexico and with Japan and with all of these countries that we trade with. We have the worst deals. We have the worst negotiators, or they're crooked, one way or the other. They're like Hillary. So, I mean, either they're crooked or they're bad negotiators, and they can't be that bad.
You know, but it's interesting because that is the one issue that you and Bernie Sanders and his supporters agree on, because we certainly have taken away manufacturing jobs and factory work. I noticed on Meet the Press this weekend, you dealt with that issue and how you would deal with a company like Carrier that moves down to Mexico, takes their jobs with them, and then wants to sell their air conditioners up here in the United States. By the way, air conditioners that John Kerry is now saying are as dangerous as ISIS, just as a side note.
Worse than ISIS. The air conditioner, they're worse than ISIS. By the way, you know, air conditioners are saving thousands of lives throughout the world in these climates that are very, very hot. And people used to die of heat, and now they're not. So if you add that in, but can you imagine he's saying that air conditioners are a bigger threat now than ISIS? I'll tell you, we have got problems in this country. We have to change these people so fast. And he's been given those marching orders from Obama, because I can't believe Kerry actually believes that.
Yeah, well, I think he actually does. That's the sad part. I mean, he was very adamant in the way he said it. But the other issue, and you touched on it about Tim Kaine, and you're right, the media has not even tried to vet him in any way, but now we know that they're in cahoots with the DNC. So my question is, Hillary wants a 550% increase in the refugee population. We have had problems with refugees being infiltrated by ISIS and other terrorist groups. We saw the aftermath in Belgium. We saw it also in France. We now saw, what, 5, 6 attacks in the last week in Germany alone. Why would we take in any refugees if we can't? What is your position? Because you were trying to explain yesterday your position has not changed, that you do think it's important either we vet them or they can't get in.
No. I think my position's gotten bigger. I'm talking about territories now. People don't want me to say Muslim. I guess I'd prefer not saying it, frankly, myself. So we're talking about territories. And the reason, you know, when you say why, how is it possible? Because these people are stupid people. I don't know. Our leaders are people that do this. They're stupid people. You look at what's going on in Germany, where they had a knife wielder yesterday who killed 2 women and just viciously and violently came from Syria. I don't know if you know this, but Kaine signed a letter wanting to take in far more than Obama. He wanted to increase it very, very much beyond Obama, Sean. And the whole thing is crazy what's going on. And Kaine, if you look at trade, if you look at what he wants to do with trade, it's going to be a disaster for our workers. And, you know, I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. Now, with Hillary and Bernie, whether you like Bernie or not, a big portion of that party supported him. And probably without the superdelegates, he would have done even a lot better. You know, it was rigged against him. But he put somebody in that's the exact opposite of Bernie. That's bad judgment, in all fairness. Now, I don't care personally. I like him because, you know, in Virginia, did you see what happened? When he was governor of Virginia, unemployment doubled, and he asked for the largest tax increase in history. He asked for a $4 billion tax increase in his first week in office for the people of Virginia. And the people of Virginia don't like him. I thought he was very popular in Virginia. That's why he got picked. He did very badly in the polls. I mean, he's not doing well. But when he was governor of Virginia, he asked for a $4 billion tax increase in his first week. So he wants more people coming in from Syria than even Hillary wants. And, you know, the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah. And by the way, there's also the issue of, you know, you talk about crooked Hillary, but he has some ethical standards as well. He took $160,000 worth of gifts. Now, that became a big issue
100%.
for Republican Governor Bob McDonnell, and it went to the Supreme Court. What is your reaction to that?
Well, Bob McDonnell, who's a very fine guy, a nice guy, got indicted for taking less. And this guy took over $160,000, I think I read last night, whereas $200,000 over a period of time, over a little longer period of time. So he took over $200,000, but while he was governor and lieutenant governor, he took $160,000 worth of gifts. I mean, gifts and trips and clothing and all sorts of things. And now he's running for vice president? I don't get what's going on here. He was not a good choice for her.
Right.
I happen to like it because I think we'll win even more easily because of it, but not a good choice.
Let me ask you one final question. On a personal note, I saw the New York Post today talking about Don Jr. actually potentially running for mayor. I know it probably meant a lot to you to see your wife and Don Jr., your son Eric, Ivanka introducing you, Tiffany. It became a very different convention with your family, and tell me about how that made you feel.
Well, they did great, every one of them. Melania was great, and Ivanka, Don, Eric, Tiffany. Don's not going to run for mayor. No, he has no intention of doing that. He wouldn't want to do that. And as a Republican in New York City, it's a little bit on the difficult side, to put it mildly. Well, he'll leave it open maybe to something, but running for mayor in New York City. All right, I don't see that happening. I don't think that'll happen. But he's a very natural guy when it comes. I mean, he spoke like he's been doing it all his life, and it was really the first major speech he's ever made, and he spoke like he's been doing it all his life. I was very proud of him, and everybody else. They were all great. I think my family helped me a lot with this big bump. You know, they were saying maybe I'd be even when I came out, and I think you reported one of the largest, maybe the largest bumps that anybody's ever got from a convention so far. I think my family helped me a lot.
I made a prediction. Look, they didn't lay a glove on Governor Pence. The convention went flawless. I know they tried to make a big deal about 2 lines. They don't mention Joe Biden as a plagiarist or that Obama has been a plagiarist. But in spite of that, I thought it was a pretty flawless convention and pretty smooth. We see more chaos here than you had 4 days in Cleveland for sure. What do you think of the lineup here when you see the association with pretty radical groups, Black Lives Matters, and a group that chants, what do we want, dead cops, when do we want it now?
Well, I don't think much of the lineup. I think it's a boring lineup. I'll tell you what, we had a great convention. We had tremendous ratings. My final night, we blew it out, you know, when I made the final speech, which really got great reviews from everybody. In fact, the negatives, the haters, actually, all they said it was dark. But it wasn't dark. They said it was really well delivered, but dark. It was really very hopeful. It was really about hope. Because what's going to happen is we're going to fix the problems. I explained what the problem. I mean, they're shooting our policemen. So many different things are happening. But it was really a speech of hope. And I think we're going to do fantastically well. I just can't see anybody wanting 4 more years of Obama.